Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park fans drift in jerseys. Legacy bold, the Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the early edition of the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. How is everybody doing on this lovely Sunday afternoon as the New York Mets play the finale against the Miami Marlins at home and trying to avoid losing 3 out of 4 against those lowly Marlins? Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Hopefully they can avoid losing 3 of 4. That would be very disappointing for this Mets team that is in the middle of trying to make up ground in the NL East. You know, ever since the Phillies sweep, they've lost a couple of games because the Phillies have been doing their jobs against the Atlanta Braves as well. So hopefully the Mets have a little bit more of a fundamentally sound game today. And I really do think that it all starts with Kodai Senga in this one.
Yeah, they got to play a better game. I think obviously you want to win a ball game, but we all feel that if the Mets limit their mistakes, they're going to win ball games. That's what they've shown when they limit their mistakes. Like they basically made nearly none in the Phillies series, and they swept the Phillies. And you make a ton of mistakes against the Marlins, and you lose those games. And that's the unfortunate part for the New York Mets when they continue to feel like they lose focus at times. If it's against bad teams or whatever, they just seem to lose focus. And they had basically everything they needed right in the palm of their hands, and all they had to do was just continue to win ball games against a bad Marlins team. And they found a way to lose the first game and the third game, and now potentially losing a series 3 out of 4 against the Miami Marlins. And unfortunately for all of us, we have Kodai Senga on the mound, which we have no idea what we're getting from Kodai Senga today. And with Sandy Alcantara on the mound, who's pitched very well over his last couple of starts, it's not going to be an easy task for the New York Mets. I truly believe you have to score at least 6 runs today. And I hate to say that. I hate to do that to the Mets offense once again. But as we all know, 8 runs wasn't enough yesterday. So, and that was with David Peterson on the mound. And with Kodai Senga showing no signs of doing better, you just hope for the best when Kodai Senga's on the mound, Chris.
You know, it's unfortunate for us, I think, until Senga proves us wrong with whatever he's going to do in this start, because we were kind of mentioning it on the post-game stream that we did yesterday after that 11-8 loss, and that, you know, this isn't really a team in the Marlins and the makeup of their lineup and the approach that they have that inspires confidence when Kodai Senga is up on the mound, because Kodai Senga relies on a lot of chasing, especially with that ghost fork. And the Marlins have proved, especially in this series thus far, for the most part, is that they are a very disciplined team, you know, when they step into that box. So I'm very curious how Kodai Senga is going to attack this Marlins lineup. And they're very dangerous when they get runners on base, especially their first 2 guys. Well, you know, what was their first 2 guys against their moving around Otto Lopez, but especially Edwards up at the top of the lineup, right? They are able to move him over at a very high rate, and they just rely on the top of their lineup to do a lot of the damage, and they have been doing so at the plate against the Mets so far this series. Kodai Senga is going to have his best stuff. If there was any game this season that the Mets needed ace-like stuff from anybody, it's probably today trying to even up the series from Kodai Senga. You take a look at the advanced numbers or just the numbers in general, not even advanced on the pitches that he throws in his arsenal. He relies a lot on the four-seam fastball, which is his worst pitch, right? He throws that at the highest percent of a clip, and opposing hitters are hitting like 283 with over a 550 slug off of that pitch. By far, his best pitch is the forkball. But outside of that, what other pitch can he really rely on to get, outs when he needs them the most? It hasn't been the four-seam fastball. The sinker hasn't really looked good either. The cutter hasn't looked great. It's like it's forkball or bust for Kodai Senga. And if he wants to get to, a spot where the Mets maybe do consider him, right, as one of their top 3 rotation arms in the playoffs, because I don't think that he's on the outside looking in when it comes to that conversation right now. He's going to have to find whatever secondary pitch works best for him to keep hitters honest and give him a different look outside of that forkball. A lot of hitters know in this league, and a lot of teams know that forkball usually is going to end up being a ball and dropping out of the zone last minute. And if they can pick up the spin, then they have the advantage. And we saw the Phillies line up the first time around. They were reluctant to swing. They were a lot more patient. I don't know why their approach changed the last start from Kodai Senga, but they still ended up scoring 3 runs against him. There's a lot of things in the way that Kodai Senga pitches that works against him, and he needs to find some sort of rhythm and some sort of groove. And I really do think that starts with finding the secondary pitch that's going to work for him the best.
Yeah, and Kodai Senga doesn't adjust. He doesn't do anything different. He throws the same way every single time. I mean, it's obvious. If we can see it, what do you think the other teams are doing? And I think it was a couple of starts ago, they showed a percentage of 72% of his ghost fork pitch is out of the strike zone. That is a crazy number when that is not just his put away pitch. He uses it so much during early parts of the count to get ahead, but he's hoping for those guys to swing at that pitch. And when you don't do that, you find yourself into, getting behind in counts and unfavorable accounts for the batter. And now look what he puts himself into. He gets his pitch count up. He always, no matter when he was pitching great early in the season, he was always putting people on base because he was walking a ton because they didn't swing at him. He was just making the right pitch at the right time. But as always, and baseball always humbles you, at some point, those runners are going to score. And that has always been a trend with Kodai Senga. He's always put on runners, even in 2023 when he had a great season. He was always putting on runners, but he was getting out of that. And I do truly believe that everybody knows what he's doing. They're not swinging at that pitch. And when you're waiting for that fastball, it's not as hard to hit when it's straight as an arrow. There's no movement on that fastball. And when you throw 95, 96, it's nothing special, to be quite honest, because everybody throws that. And when you're looking for it as a major league hitter, you're going to hit it. And again, this is the worst. We talked about it yesterday, Chris, in the post game. This is the worst team for Kodai Senga to face. Losing 3 out of 4 against the Marlins. Mendoza better have a quick trigger because you cannot let what happened yesterday to David Peterson happen today with Kodai Senga. I don't care who you got to use. It sucks because you got a couple of more games to go prior to getting an off day, but you have to win this game, right? This is not about Philadelphia. This is not about the Reds. This is about the Mets saving face a little bit on their homestand because you would eventually take 4 out of 3 in this homestand. And I'm sorry, is it right? I'm talking right. That's right. Okay. 5 out of 2.
4 out of 7.
4 out of 7. Is that correct?
7.
5 out of 7.
5 out of 7.
5. Jesus.
5 out of 7.
Sunday,
It's too early for math, Rob. It's too early.
I was never good at math, so let alone Sunday. God. Yeah, 5 out of 7. So it sounds good, right? You went 5-2 in a 7-game homestand. That's kind of what a lot of us said going into this homestand. That's pretty good. It's just the way, again, you go about go about a homestand where you don't want to lose 2 out of 4 and not win a series against the Marlins and win 3 out of 4. Again, that's not possible anymore. But now you just got to save the homestand a little bit. Make that Philly series still matter, Chris.
Yeah, I agree because you know what? At a certain point, it's a quick turnaround tomorrow. I just looked at the schedule. Apparently, it's a 1 o'clock game in Detroit tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Like that's insane. That's two back-to-back 1 o'clock starts for the Mets, right?
Yep,
Unless I'm looking at something wrong here.
I
Mets
believe you're right, but
schedule
it's Labor Day.
tomorrow. Yeah, it's Labor Day, so 1:10 p.m. start, and then Tuesday you go back to the Central Time games there at 6:40. I think Detroit Central Time. I don't even know. I don't think they are actually. Anywho, it doesn't really matter. It's a tight turnaround, two back-to-back matinee um games, and what's done is done. This is the most important thing, is that what's done is done
Yep.
with this series. You lost two, you gotta flush it, you gotta have a short-term mindset, or I guess short-term memory mindset with the way that you approach this game. Because let's be honest, the Mets go out there and beat Sandy Alcantara, who's been really decent in his last three starts. He's been really good actually over his past three starts. We also mentioned that in the post-game stream yesterday. And you know what? I'm feeling at least a little bit good about how this series ends. Yeah, the losses are going to be, they're going to hurt no matter what. And we vented out our frustration, but for me, it's like, how do you go about just salvaging? I think it's the appropriate word here, salvaging a series and just earning the split at home before you go on the road. The only silver lining here is that even though we both think that Senga is at a disadvantage against the Marlins team with the makeup of their approach at the plate, he's a career 3-0 and four starts against them with a 2.42 ERA, right? So, the Marlins team has, it's a lot different of a team than when he was pitching back in 2023, that's for sure. But hopefully those career numbers are able to emulate themselves in this ball game, and that's something that I'm just curious to see, because this team, I feel like they get runners on, like I just mentioned, especially at the top of their order, and they are pretty decent, at least against the New York Mets, with situational hitting. Like they will score runs and they will compile hits, and they'll put balls in the gaps. They'll put balls down the line and score first to home. And so they're just a pesky team. Like that's what basically I'm trying to say and trying to define them as a pesky team. And I don't think Kodai Senga does really well, historically speaking, against pesky teams. So I don't know. Hopefully the career numbers against the Marlins show themselves today, and the Mets are able to salvage this matinee before, going to Detroit and playing another matinee tomorrow on the holiday. Lineup, I think I'm fine with the lineup too from the Mets perspective. I know that Mullins is playing again. He took the offer yesterday. He had a couple of baseballs that were hard hit, but it just like, you take the offer and nobody's really happy, because we want production, not just hard hit baseballs at this point of the season, especially if you're a guy that came over and was meaning to be a meaningful acquisition at the trade deadline, especially when Tyrone Taylor's swinging such a hot bat. It's hard for me. I think at a certain point, Mendoza is going to have to go away with this matchups nonsense. And that's the biggest thing that I think both of us, and this is the same discussion that we had with like second base and third base earlier this season when they were still platooning those guys. It's like, do you prioritize who's hot at any given moment despite the matchups? Are you so glued to this lefty, righty, righty, lefty stuff that you're going to sit the guy that is better offensively, at least over the past, week or two, in Tyrone Taylor? And I know that you mentioned yesterday that you need to get Cedric Mullins going and he's going to be on the playoff roster. I completely agree with that. But at what cost? At what point do you say, all right, we need Tyrone Taylor back in this lineup? Now, I don't think that's a big concern right now for Carlos Mendoza, because this offense, no matter what, whether it's Tyrone Taylor or Cedric Mullins, they're putting up the runs. And our main focus and Carlos Mendoza's main focus is probably the pitching. But I see people in the chat that are frustrated with Mullins getting the back-to-back start. I can't really blame them there, to be honest. But all eyes have to be on the pitching, I think, in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when you score 31 runs in 3 games, I mean, does it really matter who's batting 8th or 9th? Like, really, it's you gotta be better. Like, I know people don't like Mullins, but again, Mullins is gonna be on this roster. Like, you can't bury him. You can't bury him like Mauricio. Mullins is gonna be a bigger part of this roster going forward than Ronnie Mauricio is. Like, you bury Mauricio, don't bury Cedric Mullins. Look, I don't like how he's played, but again, I'd rather have everybody going on this roster that is probably going to be on the postseason roster than somebody that's not going to be on the postseason roster, or somebody that is already hitting. I understand. Look, Marte's not playing today either because you're DH Vientos. So, Marte had a terrible at bat yesterday. Why aren't people talking about that? Because he's been red hot. That was a terrible at bat at a big point in the game. That was a terrible at bat. But Marte doesn't seem like the guy to come off the bench. He hasn't been great coming off the bench for the most part, and he looked terrible. I mean, it was probably one of his worst at bats in like a month. So that's the problem when you put people on the bench. And if you bury Mullins, that is the type of a bat you're going to get like Marte gave you. So I need to get Mullins going here, right? We were playing Tyrone Taylor because of his better defense, not because of his bat, because he wasn't hitting when they put him back in over Mullins. Now he's hitting again. Why do you think Tyrone Taylor is hitting again? Because he's playing more often than not. This is what we talk about all the times with the young kids, right? Oh, you got to play these guys to let them, to get them, to see pitches and let them get at bats. Well, that's what you got to do with Mullins as well. You can't just bury him here just because Tyrone Taylor's hitting. Once again, if you're going to concern yourself about the 8th and 9th hitter, you're going to have a long day. I'm telling you that right now. Because, again, we're not talking about Tyrone Taylor being, Pete Alonso here. Like, or even, Senga as being Mike Piazza. We're really not. Like, there was opportunities yesterday for, Beatty to come through with a guy with McNeil on third, right? He had an opportunity to do so. He didn't do it. Those are the guys that are supposed to get the job done. We're not relying on Cedric Mullins and Hayden Senga or Luis Torrens. We're just not doing that. I'm sorry. And we can continue to kill the bottom of the order, but you're wasting your time, right? Use all your energy towards the pitching because you scored 8 runs yesterday, and it should never led to that point of Mullins and others at the bottom of the order needing to come through big time. It's a waste of a conversation. Like, I just don't care the fact that we got to worry about late in the game that we scored 8 goddamn runs and we still got to figure, or at the time it was still 8 runs. It was 9-8. We scored 8 runs. Like, it should be enough. Like, let's have a conversation mostly about the pitching because, again, who has confidence in Kodai Senga today? Who has confidence? Like, we're going to have confidence in this lineup. There's a pretty good chance they're going to score runs. Even though Alcantara has been pitching good, doesn't mean that he's going to shut us down. Because really, honestly, nobody has shut this lineup down, no matter if it's a good pitcher or a bad pitcher. So the Mets are going to score runs here. It's just a matter of can the pitching, and that goes for the bullpen as well. Can they hold leads? Can they hold at least a deficit to a reasonable amount, not a 5-0 deficit in the second inning? Like, we can't keep on doing that. We had to come back 3 times yesterday, and it still wasn't enough. It's got to stop, Chris.
They also came back twice against the Phillies with Manaya and Senga on the mound as well. And so, like, that's fine and all. And that Phillies series was awesome with the way that it ended with the sweep. But I'd like to see a Mets team not get down 2-0, 3-0 in the 4th inning. And it's like, okay, time to turn on the Jets and go and score in the middle to late innings and win a ball game for the offense. No, it's about, I always say it, and I know it's like kind of a cliche saying, but production aside, I want to just see signs of life from Kodai Senga, right? If he goes out there and pitches 5 innings of 2 earned run baseball, I think that we'll both take that, Rob. I think we'll both take that, especially with what he's given the Mets over the past handful of starts, right? I mean, he's had a start there that he went 5 2/3. Okay, so what, big deal? But I need to see him limit the traffic on the bases. I need to see him utilize a good secondary pitch, right? The ghost fork is technically his secondary pitch, but he utilizes it as his primary put away pitch. I need to see a competent secondary pitch, a fastball. I don't care what variation of a fastball, whether it's a cutter, sinker, four-seamer. I don't care what it is. You need to locate that pitch and you need to be effective with that pitch because you're not going to have success at the major league level with only that one ghost fork. Because when teams decide to stop swinging at it and you start walking the ballpark and then you have to really utilize your struggling fastball, you are going to get hurt. And I think that that's something that Kodai Senga just has to get in his head, that he needs this secondary pitch to be successful. And it's not really a matter of the velocity. The velocity is the velocity. I haven't really noticed a steep decline in the velocity. For me, when Kodai Senga gets hurt off of his fastball, it's because he can't locate it. He's not working the corners of the zone, right? He's just kind of throwing it in there, hoping that it's a strike because he's still concerned about not walking batters. And when you have that mindset in your head, like, I don't want to walk this guy, chances are you're probably going to walk him because you shouldn't be thinking about that up on the mound. Not saying that he is, but I'm just saying it's been a trend his entire career, really, with the walk rate. And so you just cannot continue to give these teams free passes. So, I agree. The bottom of the lineup in general, I know that yesterday they kind of struggled to get McNeil in that crucial situation. The Mets shouldn't have been in that situation, like you just said, Rob. But all in all, this month, the bottom of the lineup has been good. McNeil's been good. Brett Beatty's been good. Tyrone Taylor has been good. Even Hayden Singer has been pretty competent with his bat. But the premier cream of the crop production should be coming from the top of the lineup, and they've also held up their end of the bargain. And therefore, when you're adding those two up, the offense isn't the issue. It's really the pitching. And so that's why we are so concerned with this pitching. And, there's a couple of other news, I guess items to get to with the New York Mets. Carlos Mendoza just now in his pregame interview said that Francisco Alvarez is going to be catching for 7 innings today in AAA, trying to get back on the fast track. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of concerns defensively. I don't want any defensive drop off, even if that means getting Alvarez's bat back into this lineup. I think that it's a dangerous game to play for the New York Mets to rush him back if he's not ready to go defensively, especially with that throwing hand. And then also Brandon Sproat. I mean, yesterday, again, just dominating 7 innings of just great baseball. I would be shocked because this morning, the Mets optioned Devinsky back to the minor leagues when Devinsky just gave them 3 scoreless innings. That's been what's been happening, right? If you're the odd man out of the bullpen, if you're the 26th guy, so to speak, the 13th pitcher on the roster that they don't really prioritize, they're going to use you in a game like yesterday, and they're going to send your ass right back down to get another guy that will do the same thing, hopefully, if the same situation arises. So they brought up Waddell. I'd expect Waddell to be a DFA option. I don't know if he has any options left. I haven't looked at Fangraphs yet in terms of that perspective, but this is the day to bring up Brandon Sproat for him to potentially make a start or enter the bullpen. You got today, and the Mets have a really big decision on their hands. So I'll see what they do.
No, anybody finds it interesting that all of a sudden Brandon Sproat's a starter again, like out of nowhere? Like he was just in the bullpen his last outing before yesterday. He threw 7 innings of 2-hit ball, like, and 8 strikeouts. Like, this is this is the problem with the New York Mets. Again, what is David Stearns doing here? Did they scratch the bullpen idea in 1 outing? Like, why is he starting in the minor leagues? Why? You shortened his last outing to be a bullpen guy when you wasted it because all you did was put him back as a starter the next outing. Like, this should have been his 2 starts with the New York Mets. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, we're still seeing Senga struggle and Minaya and Holmes and all these guys struggling. David Peterson looked like he's hitting a wall. And Brandon Sproat's still throwing 7 innings in the minors. How would that 7 innings look with the New York Mets uniform? I just don't understand it. So, again, talking about David Stearns and talk about his stupid master plan is a waste of time if you're going to talk about that in the comments. It was a big talk yesterday about his master plan. What master plan? It's not a plan. It's running on the go here. He has no idea what he's doing. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Last week, Sproat's going to the bullpen. Not even a week later, he's starting 7 innings. How does that make any sense?
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make too much sense to me, Rob. I agree.
That's what I'm saying. And now what's going to happen? Now they're going to bring him up because, it's going to get the Mets fans a little bit excited. So if the Mets lose today, 2 minutes after the Mets lose, Waddell's going to get sent down and Sproat's going to get is going to get put on this roster. Guaranteed. You know why? Because, again, the propaganda that Stearns loves to do. He wants to shut up the Met fans and get people excited. That's what's going to happen. That is good. But, hey, don't worry. We can't pitch him until the end of the week because he just started yesterday. So, like, what are we doing here? He'll be pitching in what? The Philly series or the Red series. I forgot which one. Well, whoever's the end of the week. I think it's the Reds, right? After Detroit?
I believe so.
I think it's the Reds. So he's going to be pitching at the end of the week. So we wasted another start because of whatever stupid decision they made because it was a dumb decision. You put him in the bullpen, leave him there. If that's your plan, do it. They scratched that plan in 1 outing. And now we wasted another 10 2/3 innings on his ledger. That, oh, by the way, they put him in the bullpen because they were concerned about his innings. I guess not, since he pitched 7 innings yesterday. So what is the plan? Yeah. This is why I get frustrated, Chris, because it doesn't make any sense. The plan has not made any sense, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The plan doesn't make sense. The plan was never to bring these kids up, because if it was the plan, they would have planned this much better over the course of time than doing what they did. It was a desperate move, and they're getting very lucky at this moment that you're getting good starts from these young kids. Very lucky. Because if it's not, we'd be talking about bigger problems than we already have.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm trying to make sense of it too. I mean, when they put Brandon Sproat and coming out of the bullpen in his last go around before yesterday, I was like, okay, that makes sense to have him as a bullpen arm if you're not gonna, want to give him a start at the major league level. And I'm not sure if have they ever publicly came out and said that they were concerned about his innings and they're trying to limit the innings. I don't know. Maybe that's like kind of speculation.
Like we're putting them in the bullpen, or their plan to put him in the bullpen only meant that. I don't think it was because the bullpen was a disaster, because it was about a week and a half ago that the bullpen was, Gregory Soto was still decent, Rogers was okay. The only one that was struggling was Helsley. So I don't see it as a bad bullpen for him to do that. But I don't know.
Well, it doesn't really matter, because I definitely agree either way. It's just weird how you try that one time with Brandon Sproat and then you just go away from it. And I would think, now I'm kind of thinking, and we'll find out today, but now I'm kind of thinking, like, is the plan really to call him up to begin with? Because if it was, I don't know how many pitches he threw over those 7 innings, but it just seems like you'd get a decent start from Brandon Sproat in his last outing in the minor leagues and keep him a little bit more fresh before he comes up and potentially makes a start for you at the major leagues. But if it's 7 innings, then maybe the plan is just to keep him down there until 2026. I've got no idea. That confused me a lot as well. I don't know what the plan. The plan for Nolan McLean was clearly to be here all along, I think, especially after that August 15th deadline. I think his hand was forced with Tong, right? Mm-hmm. Given the outlook of this rotation. And I don't even think he still knows what he's doing with Brandon Sproat as of 12:15 p.m. on this lovely Sunday. And it's going to be a game time decision, but going from the bullpen and having him do that and him struggling and then putting him back into the rotation for a start, if there is a valid explanation, I can't think of it right now. That just stumps me.
Yeah, I think it's indecisiveness from the front office again. I just think they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with these guys. And that's the problem. Like, if they don't bring up Brandon Sproat at 11:59 tonight, but would they still bring him up in September as a September call-up to make starts to help us win games? But what if he's good? Like, he's not eligible for the playoffs. So what are we getting excited about here, right? According to all of us, we're making the playoffs, right? So what's the point of having him up here? Like, I just don't understand it. And again, maybe they will bring him up and he'll be a part of the roster, but that handcuffs David Stearns because, he's going to get a itchy trigger finger because he doesn't have many options with guys in the bullpen, if that's the case, with Sproat being a part of this roster, because you got to take a bullpen arm off the roster. So, he doesn't like having guys with no options. And Brandon Sproat will be on this team and can't pitch until Thursday or Friday. So I don't get it. I just don't understand it. It's like all of a sudden David Stearns is quiet. Like, oh, now you're going to shut your mouth? You don't do it all season. You can't wait to get on the microphone and talk to us and give us your nonsense and your propaganda speech again and again. And that's my favorite word. I think I make a shirt. Stearns is propaganda. Like, I truly might do that because it's ridiculous. It really doesn't make any sense. Because, again, the goal should be winning the World Series. If Brandon Sproat is wasting innings away, and again, the bullpen outing was a waste where he could have been up here, at least giving us innings. At least you could have thrown him in a bullpen at the major league level. Who cares? It's not like he could be worse than anybody else that hasn't pitched well. I don't know. It's very weird, and they better make a good decision. Mauricio better go down. Stanek should be DFA'd, even though I don't think Stanek's going to get DFA'd, to be quite honest with you. I think they still like the possibility of his experience in the postseason, for anybody who's wondering that. I just don't feel like he's going to get knocked out. Again, Waddell is replacing Davinsky, right? That was the move.
That was the move this morning. Yeah.
So Waddell will be gone after the game today. Because he'll pitch, because Kodai Senga is not going more than 4 innings, so he'll be in the game. We all know that. We all know that he's going to be in the game, so he'll be going down, and it's just a matter of bringing up somebody else to help, and Brandon Sproat would help. Again, what if we talk about Senga? What if Senga don't pitch good today? Right? We have Manaea going tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. What if these two guys don't pitch well? Again, like, what are we going to say? Everything will be okay? Because that has been the conversation with a lot of Met fans. Oh, they'll be okay, right? I still, like, have you listened to WFAN? And even the fans that call up. Oh, I still trust Kodai Senga. How? How do you trust Manaea at this point if he pitches bad again? Like, if he can't get through 5 innings again, what type of confidence you have in any of these guys? At least Brandon Sproat is pitching well in the minors, where you could say, all right, maybe he could do better. Could he? I don't know. But at least give him the opportunity to give yourself an option for the postseason with a starter. Because I have no problem throwing Manaea in the bullpen. I have no problem throwing Holmes in the bullpen, to be quite honest with you. Whoever you want to do it to. But if Sproat's pitching so well, and they botched that bullpen idea within 1 outing, then bring him up. That's it. Maybe Sproat went up to them and said, listen, I don't like the bullpen. I just don't feel comfortable. And maybe that was the conversation. Maybe he does have, obviously if the player says, I don't like it, it kind of makes sense not to leave him there and put somebody in a situation they're going to fail. So, again, we'll see.
I think we need to see something from Kodai Senga today. I mean, there's just, I understand the whole positive, outlook and spin on things. I try to be objective as possible. I need to see something from Kodai Senga today. I don't trust Kodai Senga, and he needs to earn the trust of this fan base back that actually looks at this team through an objective lens and calls a spade, right? And the spade is that Kodai Senga has not been good since the injury. David Peterson, for the most part of the second half, has been shaky. Sean Manaea has not been the 2024 version of Sean Manaea. Clay Holmes is inconsistent. Like, that is the truth about this rotation in this current moment. If the decision is between keeping and just hoping that a guy like Manaea or Holmes, figures it out in September, and that's the reason why you don't bring up Brandon Sproat, I object to that decision. I'm bringing up Brandon Sproat. I'm moving Manaea or Holmes, whichever one you want, because Senga's not going to the bullpen. There's no chance Senga goes to the bullpen. He's not cut out for the bullpen, right? So you have a choice between, and I don't think McGill is going to the bullpen either. They've been there, done that. It hasn't worked out with McGill as a bullpen arm, and he seems like he would be cut out for it. But like you said, some guys just maybe don't like going to the bullpen and coming out of the bullpen. So I think your options are, if you're going to shake up this rotation, because let's not forget, Carlos Mendoza, directly from his mouth, said, we are evaluating this rotation on a start-by-start basis. So I don't think that Clay Holmes and Sean Manaea are safe in this rotation if they're seriously considering bringing up a guy like Brandon Sproat, and clearly Tyler McGill is on his way back. And they could shake things up, and this could be the deciding start. I would have thought that the last go around was the deciding start, because you're at the very last hour here, so to speak, on the last day that you need to make the decision. And it would have been nice for it to line up as Kodai Senga starts yesterday and Manaea starts today, to see what these guys got before you had to make that decision. Unfortunately, you're only going to be able to see one of the two. And the one guy that you're going to see is probably not even in consideration to go to the bullpen, right? Yeah. So the best case scenario would have been seeing how Sean Manaea does today and his start falling on today instead of tomorrow. So there is a lot of just risks that are at stake here. And it just doesn't align up properly to make this decision with the best information as possible. I just think that you cannot take the risk of one of these guys figuring it out magically when they haven't over the past couple of months, and you're going to prioritize that over a guy like Brandon Sproat, who could come up here and be the same thing that Tong was in his first start. Noel McLean has been in his first 3 starts. At this point, what do you have to lose going to a rotation that is full of young electric arms? If anything, no matter what the end results of the game are going to be, at least that's exciting for fans. But for us fans right now, right, we have to sit back and just hope that these veterans figure it out. And that's also something that I have an issue with, because at some point, if you have this ultra farm system, and I know you're going to love this, Rob, and I haven't really said this throughout most of the season. I didn't really say this at the trade deadline either, but I know you've been saying this since this past offseason, is that if you're going to have this ultra farm system, right, all these great rankings and all these great players, both from the pitching side of things and from a prospect side of things, you're going to have to play them at some point if you have a president of baseball operations that doesn't want to overpay for the proven talent, like you said. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I would have liked to seen David Stearns, overpay, right? I don't think he needed to overpay, but if you weren't going to overpay, play the young guys. It's about damn time to play the young guys. The time is now. And so that's why I am an advocate for seeing Brandon Sproat. I'm not trying to sit here and wait for him, to come up in 2026 and show us what he has in spring training. I don't care what the numbers say. The numbers say that he's been relatively good over his past, 7, 8 starts now, outside of that one outing where he came out of the bullpen. Bring him up. And you're not going to bring him up in September and not have him postseason eligible, because there's no point. Like you said, what if he does come up and he's electric? You call him up a day too late and he's not postseason eligible. David Stearns needs to decide today, and he needs to be decisive about his decision. And I like you, I don't know if they've made their decision on this just yet. This decision should have already been made as of yesterday, in my humble opinion. But at the latest, by the way, we'll see, Rob. It's going to be interesting, man.
Yeah, it's the continued indecisiveness that just kills me. And I said it, like, I have no problem with playing the prospects. I just don't. But do it. Like, you're afraid to trade them. You're afraid to pay any pitchers. And you're afraid now to bring up Sproat for what reason? To tell everybody you're right about the $20 million man in Manaea, or the $11 million you gave Holmes, or the 17 you gave Montas. Oh wait, he's not pitching no more. So it's the same thing. Like that's what I just don't understand. Like there's no direct plan to do anything.
Sorry.
Everything just seems out of place, and it seems like it's the wrong urgency. In the wrong
Have you
way.
seen this quote by Mendoza? Sorry to cut you off. I really didn't mean to, but it's like, because we're talking, like, this is very relevant to what we're talking about, because we both are saying right here that we want to see Brandon Sproat, because what do we have to lose? And Carlos Mendoza, the manager, is also saying in an interview right now that he's doing, it was good to see him throw the ball the way he did yesterday. I think it's one of those things where it's like, all right, here I am too, to bring me up. So clearly the manager is probably expecting for Brandon Sproat to be up, and what he's saying, or at least he'd like to see him up, just like both of us are saying right now. I just don't see how, if you're David Stearns, you can't make that decision at that point, given the state of this rotation. I'm sorry. It has to be done.
Because didn't we talk about it a couple of shows ago, where it doesn't seem like Mendoza and Stearns are on the same page here, and Mendoza's have been given hints in pre and post game interviews about certain things, and it's kind of like taking not a shot, but like, yeah, I would say a shot, for lack of a better word, taking a shot at Stearns, saying, "Hey, do this." Like, why am I sending out guys here that are not doing their job, and then you're going to continue to talk about these prospects? Like, I agree with Mendoza. Like, he's calling you out, David Stearns, and good. Somebody's doing it, because the media is afraid to talk bad about Stearns. Cohen is basically, kissing Stearns' ass. And it seems like too many fans are saying, trust in the process, trust in the process. Trust in the process. Like, come on. Like, do your fucking job. Your job is to have us win. Stop worrying about next year, because he talked about it the last time he spoke about 2026. That's all he talks about. Like Sandy Alderson talked about 2016 as well, when 2015 was happening. And he got very lucky with the move he made. I don't feel like David Stearns cares enough about the season at hand, and seems like he wipes his hands of the conversation of, well, I did my job. This is the roster. They got to do it. And which at the end of the day, they got to do their job. But when you don't do your job and there's somebody that could possibly be better internally, you do it. And your manager is calling you out. And thanks for that quote. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, all of a sudden, we always believe that Mendoza and Stearns are on the same page. They don't seem like they're on the same page. I think Mendoza is very frustrated by the way this has gone the last couple of weeks in regards to the pitch-in and why these kids weren't up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll go as far as to say they're not on the same page, but it definitely seems like Mendoza is openly advocating for Brandon Sproat to be called up. And I mean, if you talk about opinions that matter, yeah, whatever we say really doesn't matter at the end, at the end of the day. But Mendoza is the guy whose opinion probably matters first and foremost, right underneath David Stearns. And this is a guy that's managing a team that went on a podcast just a couple of weeks ago in the middle of this spiral for the starting rotation and said, it's hard to manage the bullpen when you have your starters, going less and less innings, and you have to warm up your bullpen starting in the fourth inning pretty much every game. Like, I didn't say that. You didn't say that, Rob. The manager of the New York Mets said that himself on another podcast, right, that he appeared on. And so you have that quote, and then now you have today's quote talking about it's almost like Brandon Sproat is going out there through 7 innings of great baseball, and he's like, I'm here too to get called up so I can help this team win. And we're still sitting here, not making a move. And you're right. I mean, I'm not sure in the grand scheme of things if it really mattered if he was going to make his next start in AAA as of yesterday or at the major leagues. I know earlier is a lot better in most circumstances. But for me, I just think the switch up from the last 2 outings of Sproat, right? The bullpen tryout. It's like, have they completely – now my question is, honestly, have they completely shut the idea down of him coming out of the bullpen because they gave it a try? He gave up 5 runs in that role. Was something said by Sproat? Were the coaches just not happy with the production there and they're like, he should just be a starter and that's it? There's a lot of things at play here. Or maybe they gave him that one opportunity to get him acclimated, and that's still the plan moving forward, which if that's the case, it wouldn't make sense why he'd go out there the next outing and throw 7 innings as a starter, right? You'd probably want to see another go-around to see if he can get it right out of the bullpen. So, there's a lot of things at play here, and that's why I think that beyond just today's game, like this is a very important day for the New York Mets organization in 2025 outside of just needing to even this series up and earn the split against the Marlins. Like the roster for September, who's postseason eligible and getting the most pitching help here as possible is on the line with this Brandon Sproat decision. So
yeah, I do wonder if the decision is going to be made if Senga doesn't pitch well. Not saying that Senga's going to get out of the rotation, but let's say Senga doesn't pitch well today. Is that going to determine Sproat coming up here and the Mets making a decision on a rotation spot other than, say Minaya or somebody like that? Because again, Sproat's not going to pitch until Thursday or Friday anyway, if he does come up. So you have time to see Minaya tomorrow. And if he doesn't pitch well, you're stuck with Senga in the rotation. We all agree with that. I wonder if that's the case. Like if Senga pitches well, maybe it gives a little step back to Stearns to say, all right, you know what, maybe we don't need Sproat. I mean, that's silly to say, but I wouldn't put anything past David Stearns because he hasn't made sense for the majority of this year. And why do I think he's going to start making sense now on August 31st? I just don't know. But Senga better pitch well. You know what? We got to win a ball game today. Right? As much as we're talking about, down the road is pointless if you don't win ball games. You got to start winning ball games here, right? Don't lose 3 out of 4 against the Marlins. That's a joke. I'm sorry. Find a way to win. It would be nice if the pitching kind of carries the game today, but I don't think anybody expects that. Again, So win a ball game, Kodai Senga, wake up, do something, try something different. You know what? How about throwing your fastball more? Because they're gonna be sitting, they're probably gonna be waiting for the ghost fork to be out of the zone. You know what? Surprise them with fastballs. Throw something different. He never changes his routine when he's on the mound. It's the same thing every time. And it's so obvious, and the teams know that. So it's kind of annoying. I just like to see an adjustment for Kodai Senga. And you could blame Hefner, but I still think it's the guys who get on the mound. I think Kodai Senga is stuck in his ways. I don't think he does anything that anybody tells him to do. I think he throws what he throws. He's on the mound. He needs certain days off. He needs everything to go right just to get on the mound. I don't think he likes adjustments. I think he pitches the way he pitches. And if he gets people out, great. If he doesn't, well, I did my best. I feel like that's the case, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that everyone that watches us on the screen knows that you have been a little bit more down on David Stearns, historically speaking, for this season than I have. I think that there's some things that I don't think, listen, this is what I'll say. Like, I think that David Stearns, as I said weeks ago, has done a lot of good for this team and will continue to do so because his job's not on the line. Like Mets fans always take it to the next level. Let's have Carlos Mendoza be a firing candidate. Is Steve Cohen thinking about letting David Stearns go? No, these guys are going to be here for 2026. It's already cemented. 2027, I'd bet a large majority of anything that I have to offer that they'll be here. Unless I'm completely wrong, I don't know. Things have to go drastically wrong in 2026 for either of those guys not to be here. This is like a long-term kind of thing. And I do think that the long-term outlook of the New York Mets is very bright. And that's what you have going. Like, that's what this team has going for it. But it frustrates us because we don't want to look at 2026 anymore. Like, we look at a wide open, first of all, wide open MLB, but wide open NL. And we're like, let's go for it now. Let's go for it now. And some of the decisions, I think Mets fans have a right to criticize and question. I don't think overall that means David Stearns is the wrong man for the job. It's just, especially in the face of adversity. I'm sure David Stearns didn't plan for these guys to be this bad. I'm sure, right? So, but if you build a rotation a certain way, you have to have at least a backup plan. He's shown us that his backup plan all along was, dabbling at the trade deadline, seeing if there could be any good value deal to be had. Wasn't there, had to overpay, didn't want to do it. And his backup plan all along was going to be these kids, right? Coming up and being impactful. So if that's the plan, just commit to it and bring up, you've already got two of the three, bring up the third one and let's roll. Let's see how it goes. So that's what I got to say. And from an offensive perspective today, Rob, listen, I think this is a must-win game. There's a lot of must-win games. I think that this is one of them for the New York Mets down the stretch, especially if they want to have a fighting chance at this division. It's getting harder with less games to go, but it's certainly not impossible even still. But you got to start with today. And I do think that this offense, I like it on paper. Mullins is the wild card, but I don't think that we should care if Cedric Mullins gets to start or not, because it should not be the difference in a win or loss for this team. I think that's what you were trying to say earlier in the stream as well. Keep on being aggressive. I think that no matter who the opposing pitcher is, today you're going up against a guy that has a pretty good track record, right? He's been injured recently. He struggled a little bit recently trying to come back from the injury, but it seems like he's starting to figure something out over his past couple of starts. Doesn't matter. Keep putting up aggressive at-bats. And that's something that I really do think will transfer over into September and will be the reason if the pitching can figure something out, right? I'm not saying they have to figure it out completely, but they figure a fraction of the answer of how to be better out. This offense, with the way that it's going and the approach that they have at the plate, that is a recipe for more wins and keeping on pace for continuing to be a playoff team. So continue to be aggressive, and good things will happen. The Mets will score runs as they have been over the past month or so, and that's just the bottom line. We'll see what we get from Kodai Senga, though. Very interested to see how it's going to go. And I know that Rob is going to have a mouthful of words for you all in the post game if Senga decides to crap the bed again tonight, or today, I should say. So should be interesting either way.
Yeah, again, I just hope we win. And again, yeah, I'll kill Kodai Senga even if he doesn't pitch well, win or lose. But look, all eyes are on Kodai Senga in this game, and we all know it, right? Fans are shuffling into Citi Field right now, probably wondering the same thing. What are they going to get from Kodai Senga? So we will be doing a post game after the game. Myself, Chris, and Zach will be joining the post game as well. So we're going to have multiple opinions, multiple interactions, multiple probably interesting thoughts that we usually always have when all three of us get together. So we'll see if we're talking about a Mets win here and a 5-2 homestand. If not, well, it's not going to be a very pleasant post game, and that's 4-1 for people who are scared of coming on a show that is too negative, because we try to be positive, we want to be, but they haven't given us enough signs of being positive. So hopefully we're being positive on the post game with a Mets win, with Senga pitching well, and then we can all go on a happy way on this Sunday afternoon. With that said, guys, thank you for tuning into the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channels and on X. And make sure you tune into the post game show with me, Chris, and Zach, and talking about a Mets win, hopefully. Chris, any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it. I appreciate everyone that's in the chat here with us this Sunday. Make sure to subscribe to both channels, hit the thumbs up, all that fun stuff. I definitely appreciate it. Hopefully you all are appreciating what we're doing too. We're trying to give it to you all as best as we can in terms of giving you the most objective thoughts. Like if we were here to sugarcoat things, I mean, that wouldn't be half as fun. You all would probably see right through it. At the end of the day, Mets fans are smart. Most of them are smart. And sometimes I think, emotions get in the way sometimes with this passionate fan base, and that's okay. We all have our differences and opinions about the state of this team and the future outlook of this team, and that's okay. But, I hope that people get out of this show. Like the one thing that I hope is that you get our real thoughts and opinions, and that's the bottom line. So hopefully you're getting that from us. If you're not, let us know. But I think that that's what this show is really meant to be. So good pregame show. See you all later for the post game, and let's go get a win. I'm rooting for Kodai Senga. I really am. I want him to turn this thing around. Let's go Kodai, and let's go Mets.
There you go, guys. So see you on the post game. Let's go Mets and enjoy the game.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem